What a waste of time. I'm not mad, but I am disappointed. Let's talk about that. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and I just finished watching the 95-minute Xbox Bethesda Showcase. This was a bunch of games that are supposed to get us hyped about owning an Xbox and being subscribed to Game Pass. But now that I finished it, so much of this press conference was filled with crappy DLC for games I don't care about. More updates for stuff like Sea of Thieves, more patches coming to Fallout 76, new expansions to Elder Scrolls Online. I do not care. I want to see the new great stuff that's coming to Xbox to make me hyped for having my console. Most of this entire showcase to me was very, very straight up putting me to sleep. Now, there were a couple very impressive games which I want to talk about, but most of this was a big ol' snooze fest. Now, the beginning of this was something that did grab me. The first couple of games they revealed today were ones that actually got me pretty hyped, starting with Redfall. This is that Arcane project, and for a while we didn't know what it was specifically. It turns out that it's going to be a squad-based shooter involving people going against a bunch of vampires that have taken over a tiny island town near Massachusetts. Now, it seems like it's going to be based on class systems and skill trees. So the vampires come in all sorts of different shapes and varieties, sort of like Left 4 Dead, and so do our heroes. People can come in classes like Cryptid Hunter. There's like a lady who's psychic. There's somebody that can set up robots and traps. And I also kind of enjoy the fact that there's sort of like this crazy Stranger Things vibe to this as well that sort of looks extra colorful and gory at times. So Redfall, it did grab my attention. It seems like it's going to be open world and multiplayer focused, but I don't know. So far though, this initial trailer does look incredibly fun. Now they followed this up with one of the biggest surprises of the showcase, which was Silksong, Hollow Knight. This freaking indie game is so missing in action that people were almost afraid that it had been canceled or remade or some sort of big problems were happening. They confirmed that Silksong is coming to Xbox Game Pass, and honestly, the little gameplay they showed of it, it looks fantastic. It's like a more artsy 2D Dark Souls, and I mean, honestly, even if we haven't seen it in a very long time, this was a grand re-reveal, and the fact that it's coming to Xbox Game Pass day one, this is a surprisingly huge win, even if people don't realize it. Now, next up, they showed off a Rick and Morty style first-person shooter where your guns can talk. It's very quirky and colorful and goofy, and even as a Rick and Morty fan, this one didn't really sort of blow me away. It's called High on Life. It seems like it's trying to be, just Rick and Morty, but with shotguns. All right, that seems kind of neat. Now, a lot of this showcase felt like it was trying to show you why you should be happy to already have an Xbox or buy an Xbox, but very few of these games truly wowed me. Again, I'm scrolling through my list here. Let's talk about this weird partnership they're working on. So most of the talk here was about things that are coming to Xbox. This was something that is only coming to PC. If you have Xbox Game Pass for PC, basically if you download any of the Riot Games, so anything like League of Legends or Valorant or anything like that, if you connect it to your Xbox account, you can immediately unlock all of the characters. Everything that Riot Games does, obviously they do very big, very, very profitable free-to-play games, and typically the way they work is that by grinding and leveling up in the games, you slowly get the heroes. Well, now they'll all be immediately unlocked. That's kind of interesting, I guess, but I wish that something like Valorant was actually coming to consoles, but instead they're still going to be PC exclusive. It's just a weird partnership. Next up, they showed a bunch of Forza Motorsport. Now, graphically, this game does look good. This was practically just an in-motion tech demo. It seems to be almost photorealistic. They've talked about all these special new details they're working on to try and make this the most accurate racing simulator ever. Better physics, more realistic lighting. There is a day-night system, so each time of day, technically cars drive differently if the air is more cold or more hot, so a bunch of sun beating down the pavement, you actually have to steer around corners more accurately. The game looks great. I have not been hyped about a Forza Motorsport game in many, many years. This one does at least pique my interest. I had a lot of fun with Gran Turismo 7, and this seems to, in a lot of ways, just be Gran Turismo 7, but even better. So I'm going to be open-minded and play that when it comes out next year. No exact release date, no exact name, but whenever it comes out, it's certainly coming out. Now, the next exclusive they talked about, which I think is an exclusive, is Plague Tale 2 Requiem. Now, the first Plague Tale was very short, but very, very spooky and creepy. This seems to have a very heavy stealth focus like the first game did. You're trying to creep around all sorts of medieval plague time periods, sort of trying to figure out how to get past guards, how to shove people into the rats that are eating everybody. It's very, very macabre, but this trailer was good. The one problem I still have with Plague Tale Requiem is, holy heck, is the camera all the way up your ass. I wish that there better be camera features where I can choose to zoom it out, because as it stands, this is just way too weird and not very great focused to me. Now we get to all the downloadable content. They talked about there's new planes and helicopters coming to Flight Simulator. Whoop-de-doo, they're adding in the Pelican from Halo to Flight Simulator. That's great. Overwatch 2, which I know technically is a new game, but certainly just looks like downloadable content. That's coming to Xbox and consoles. It's getting early access for free on October 2nd. Yay. The new character in Overwatch 2 is called the Junker Queen. Super duper. I'm probably not playing this. Like, some of this stuff, even free, because I already own Xbox Game Pass, even free, I don't care about downloading this stuff. Ark 2 is coming next year. It's got Vin Diesel in it. My girlfriend absolutely loves Ark. She's tried to get me to play Ark, and for just a little bit I have played it, but survival games are certainly not my cup of tea, and this one bored the heck out of me. Now, the next thing was something that kind of shocked me with how fun it looked, which was Scorn. This is a horror first-person shooter that looks to be almost based on like a Tool album. It has a very, what's his name, MC Escher, who's the guy who did all the art for the Alien movies. It has a very Alien vibe that I do enjoy, but even now, seeing it, like, Scorn is coming this year. It's coming October 21st. I am going to probably play that. I am probably going to review it, but I mean, a lot of this stuff, so much of this stuff they showed today was so lackluster that Scorn kind of stood out just because everything around it was so freaking bland. Next up, they had a game that was some sort of indie action RPG called Flintlock. It has that very heavy style of fighting and dodging and shooting. This is in a world where gods have arisen, and instead of that being a good thing, they've brought all sorts of famine and death, and so we're playing as some sort of hero that is trying to get strong enough to slay the gods and restore balance. That seems like an interesting idea and a good setting, to be honest, but I'm not sure. It depends on when that's coming out. The fact that a lot of this stuff is coming to Game Pass, some of these indie games, and boy, do they pile on the indie games, I'm more likely to check them out, because even if they are looking a bit bland, I mean, if they're already included in Game Pass, why not install it and check it out? Now, they did announce something that's a bit confusing, which is something called Minecraft Legends. Now, it seems like this is going to be an RTS, a real-time strategy game. So instead of directly playing Minecraft, you'll have like Minecraft soldiers or a top-down camera angle to actually try and do stuff and go on adventures. It looks to be very fantasy-ish, so maybe fighting off different monsters and goblins and stuff with magic. Kind of interesting. Now, next up, they showed off Gunfire Reborn. I've heard of this project. I thought it was already out. It's something that has cute animals doing violent things. It's co-op. Some of this stuff, when I see it, I'm like, I'm not sure who this is even made for, but hey, that's great. Now, next up is a game that absolutely looked terrible in my opinion, because it's basically a video game that runs at 1 frame a second. It's called As Dusk Falls. They said that they tried to make a choose your own adventure storybook that's got the intensity of a television show. I hate video games that are trying to imitate television. Don't be television. We're better than television. We are video games. We have playability and they don't. It's sort of like just an interactive comic book. Great, you choose things to do. Literally, this screenshot's pretty much what the entire game is going to look like. Super duper, that's great. There's a 2D action adventure game called Last Case of Benedict Fox. Seems like your dad was like a mystery dude. So now we jump into his memories and go on an adventure. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Okay, some of y'all are going to get mad, but some of these indie games I didn't even write down because they're just so bland and so generic. They had silent trailers with no voiceover, no real sound effects. Like, a lot of this stuff just blurs together. Even if you do love indie games or big reveals or anything, so much of this presentation was a freaking snooze fest because it felt like even the organizers didn't actually care. But now let's talk about the fact that Grounded is finally coming out. Do y'all remember this? There's like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids MMORPG style action adventure online thing that Xbox's been working on. Well, it's finally coming out. It's great. Hooray. It's a survival game, but tiny. I am never, ever, ever going to play that. But next they showed up one of the few games they showed here that I actually enjoyed. Diablo IV, baby. Diablo IV. Yes, that's right. Diablo IV is coming next year. They revealed the final of the new classes, or the classes that are going to be in this game, and it is the Necromancer, my personal favorite. I am obsessed with Diablo. I read the books. I collect the comics. I've beaten all the games again and again and again. I even attempted to enjoy Diablo Immortal, even though it is a dumpster fire. I'm super excited for Diablo 4. This looks great. They actually said some pretty baffling numbers. They said there's going to be 150 dungeons in the game. There's going to be stronghold bases that we can take over from the demons. So there's sort of this like evolution to the world we're playing as. There's going to be like random freaking boss events that just pop up. End game is a heavy focus, so even after you beat the game, there's still going to be hundreds of hours of stuff to do. PvP, like the entire thing of Diablo, this is probably my game of the show, even as a Diablo fan. Like, the darkness of it looks so freaking much like Diablo 2. I am extremely on board for this specifically. But now next up, they showed off Sea of Thieves. It's getting an update. Yay, Sea of Thieves. Next, they showed Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. It was a CGI trailer. There was a surprising amount of CGI. Like, they said that this was going to be the pure gameplay showcase, and yet there was still a shocking amount of freaking CGI. Just pure silent CGI. And God, that drives me freaking nuts. Now, here are the interesting reveals. They ended off with three things that actually were great. Kojima is working on an Xbox exclusive, it seems like. It's some sort of project that he said, it's something I've always wanted to work on. Xbox is going to help me with their cloud service. Whatever this turns into, I'm extremely happy. Kojima, I love his games a lot. This seems extremely cool. I've noticed some freaking Sony fans seem to be really mad that he's not working on Death Stranding 2 or whatever, but this is really hype. If you're a Kojima fan, this feels like a gigantic freaking W. Next up, they showed off the fact that a bunch of Persona games are coming to Xbox. Yes, that's right. Despite the fact that everybody kind of expected that Persona games would eventually come to Switch, instead they're coming to Xbox. So we're getting Persona 3 for Portable, Persona 4 Golden, which I still love with every freaking bit of my heart, and also Persona 5 Royale. They're all coming to Game Pass. They're all coming within the next 12 months. That is extremely cool. I personally very much hope that Persona 4 Golden specifically also comes to the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch. I mean, I just love Persona 4 Golden a lot, and that game really fits well on a handheld. But then they ended off this big showcase with a deep dive into Starfield. Now, I did notice a lot of people on social media kind of hating on this game, saying that the frame rate is very bad, which honestly it is. But I think I'm mildly impressed. Starfield definitely looks like Skyrim in space. It definitely has a lot of things, like a lot of the shooting reminded me a lot of Fallout 4. There is more quick action in this. We saw the character doing power slides and shooting people. There's weapon wheels, so you can just hot swap between like a space shotgun and a space machine gun. Being an astronaut does look pretty interesting. You do have a boost set, like a booster jetpack, so you can fly at enemies. It seems more advanced than the other Bethesda games we've gotten, and I'm certainly very curious about it. They did show this big capital city called New Atlantis, And what I found perhaps the most fascinating of this entire reveal they showed off about Starfield is they said that most people have stopped space exploration. Most people are just hunkering down and trying to live or being space pirates or whatever like that. So we are the last of the space explorers. And they said that the whole point of this is that you are building your own story. You make your own custom character with a heavy set of tool sets. You make your own ship. You customize your crew. You do every single part of this and then make your own story inside of it, which in my opinion, that's the best part of what we saw inside of stuff like Skyrim, is when you just make a great story with their toolkit. Overall, I found this to be a very, very boring showcase. It had like 3 games that actually made me excited, and then obviously the ports of Persona were cool. I would give this a 5 out of 10. It's slightly better or worse than the Summer Games Fest. It's bad compared to that recent State of Play, which was the best State of Play that Sony's ever put on. This was a fat freaking L, in my opinion. But please tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and please keep dreaming. And like this video, because I'm sure a lot of Xbox people are going to be pissed at me. It's just an opinion, guys. It's just an opinion. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.